This is AgGrad Live,
We have all of the different segments within the cotton.
the show that explores what it's really like to work in the ag industry,
So making sure that we get policy and regulatory issues
straight from the people who live it every day. Hello, AgGrad Nation. So glad those of you could join us live here tonight. It's actually been a really exciting week here at AgGrad. A couple things that have happened that before we launch into this interview, I wanted to make you aware of. Number one is we have really upped our game on YouTube, partially as a result of this show and the good reception we've had from the Facebook Live stuff we've been doing. We've really started doing a lot more on YouTube. So if you are on YouTube and subscribing to shows on YouTube is the type of thing that you would do, head to YouTube and subscribe to this to AgGrad after this show, because this will be on there in the coming weeks. All of the other episodes we've done since last summer are on there, and really adding some other stuff. We're even messing with some additional type videos, including things like video courses and maybe even some vlogging. So head over to YouTube after this broadcast and subscribe to us there if that's the sort of thing you do on a regular basis. Second thing is we launched our podcast this week. So every show on AgGrad Live is also going to be found in audio form. So whether you use iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play or whatever, all of the multitude of podcast players that are out there, find AgGrad Live on your podcast player, and we would love for you to catch the episodes in. So that way, not only when you're home at the end of the day watching this live, you can also listen when you're working as well. But you didn't come here to hear all of my announcements. You came here to talk about communications in the cattle industry. So very excited to have Jayce Winters on the show, and I'm going to bring her on right now. Jayce, welcome.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks so much for having me.
So the first question I just have to ask you, because I think those listening or watching are going to be blown away by the answer. Our Cattle Empire, how many head of cattle at any given time at Cattle Empire?
So we have 250,000 head of cattle at Cattle Empire. And what's crazy is they're actually all located in one county, Haskell County in Southwest Kansas. So we're the 5th largest cattle feeder in the country, and we're the largest family owned and operated. So.
And you said 250,000 head.
Yes, it's actually 245,500, but you can round up.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Now, your position as far as communications, do you have a team that do communications, or tell us about your role with Cattle Empire?
So I am the public relations manager here at Cattle Empire, and that kind of means a lot of different things. I kind of help out in a lot of different areas. I'm technically on the human resources team because a lot of our communications efforts are focused towards retaining and recruiting employees to want to come work at Cattle Empire. And so that correlates very closely with human resources. But I do a variety of things. Social media is an obvious one. Like many agricultural organizations, we're looking to increase our public-facing side and help to communicate with the public more about what goes on at our company. And we do educational outreach opportunities as those come up in the community, and of course go and speak at schools and do other activities like that. So I also manage our internship program, which we can talk about probably later in this conversation.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
We'll want to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a scholarship program. We do some level of advertising. And another big component is that we are a very giving and very philanthropic company. And so I work on that and help to find opportunities for us to give back to our local communities and do that in a positive and meaningful way to help support those and make those communities good places to live, because it's the communities surrounding us are largely small communities, and we are kind of out in the country, so we have people commuting from several different communities to work here. So those are just some things that I do on a day-to-day basis, work with a lot of different people here in different departments. So it's a great team.
Cool. And I think a lot of people who hear, you're working in rural Southwest Kansas for one of the largest cattle operations in the country, they think, oh yeah, so she must have been, born into the Cattle Empire family, right? So tell us about that.
Sure. So kind of how I got into this industry and this job is I did, in fact, grow up in the cattle industry. My father is a local rancher in this area, so I did grow up around here as well. But I haven't been here my whole life. So I grew up in this area in agriculture. I was actually never even in FFA or 4-H, believe it or not. Wasn't going to go into agriculture. Actually wanted to pursue a career in music. Was my main interest. And so I went to college at West Texas A&M University and kind of learned that there was so much more to agriculture than the saying cows, plows, and sows or whatever.
Now, did you originally go there for ag communications?
I went there kind of undecided as to what I was going to do. I did consider the agriculture field. They also had a great music department, so I kind of knew whichever way I wanted to go, it would be a good program at that school. And so that's where I discovered agricultural communications and really fell in love with it, and fell in love with the communications side of things in the mass comm department there, as well as the ag department. And I got my first job working in cattle marketing online, selling cattle online. And then I went to work for Texas Cattle Feeders Association, which is where I really delved in more to the cattle feeding sector, and that kind of thing. And so I spent about 2 years there. I got married, and then my husband and I decided that we wanted to relocate back to Southwest Kansas, back home. And so this opportunity was available here with Cattle Empire. But it is funny you say about growing up in the Cattle Empire family. I did work part-time at Cattle Empire in high school. So they are a large employer in the area. And that was just kind of a funny part of my story and process getting here. So
that's very cool. And they probably know you can speak from firsthand experience of actually, working on that. And I'd love to hear more. What's it like for you, working in a feedlot? I think a lot of people have driven past feedlots on a highway and thought, boy, what would it be like to work in that environment? So what's it like to work in kind of a feedlot environment?
Yeah, so I really enjoy it. I enjoy the days, not like today when it was about a high of 25 degrees, but I enjoy the days where I can get out and interact and be out with the cattle or the employees that are out working there in the mill, in the different departments that we have. It's really just like being on a farm. I mean, we even have a farm here as far as we grow a lot of our own feedstuffs for our cattle on our surrounding pasture land and things like that. I think what a lot of people don't know about feed yards, or maybe some misconceptions, I actually pulled up a stat earlier in looking in preparation for this, that 93% of the feed yards in the United States are less than 1,000 head. So that's kind of crazy, but it's the vast majority of feed yards are small feed yards. And so places like Cattle Empire are actually not the norm. And so I think a lot of people, whatever background they come from, they don't think about feed yards as having, a lot of employment options, or maybe not a lot of upward mobility or things like that. But at Cattle Empire, we employ approximately in the ballpark of 400 people. And so we have basically many different departments at the feed yard: the cattle department, the feed department, the maintenance department. All these different areas have many people who work in them, who specialize in these areas. And then, of course, there's supervisors and managers and different leadership across the company in all of these different areas. And so it's kind of crazy, but in a way, you have the farm aspect and you have the agriculture aspect, but you also have the company aspect. Right. There really is a structure to it and things like that. And so it's really a great place to work. And if you have an interest in agriculture and working in the beef industry, there's a lot of opportunities to get into the feed yard industry, not necessarily just in communications, but just in hands-on working with cattle. Maybe if you're not so much a cattle person, working in the feed department, we manufacture our own feed here, as far as we, steam flake our corn, batch mix it and everything like that. It's very technologically advanced computer systems. There's opportunities for people with a lot of different interests to find something that they like to do. If they're a college graduate, come in an entry-level position, work into some leadership roles, those opportunities are here. So I think those are some things that people don't necessarily associate with a feed yard or think about being with a feed yard, since most feed yards are small, that we do enjoy here.
We lost you for just a second, but you're back.
Okay, I think I know where I cut out. I was just saying that's just something that we enjoy here. So
cool. And we do have a group on with us live here. I know Jennifer, Kayla, Joyce, Brandon, thank you all for commenting, just saying hi down there. If any of you who are joining us live would like to ask a question, just put it in the comments and we'll put Jayce on the spot. I'm sure she's in communications and she's a pro, so she's up for it if you have any questions there. But getting back to what you were saying, about getting into the beef industry, I do talk to a fair amount of people who are either early in their career or maybe their career has gone a different direction. They're just like, what I've always just really loved is cattle. Like, I would just love to work with cattle. What would be your advice to them to kind of get started, maybe a first step to getting plugged into careers in the beef industry?
So I understand that it is tough, and traditionally it is tough. But one thing that we're trying to do here to open that door and widen that opportunity a little bit has been expanding our internship program. And so I think that this might be a good place to talk about that, because some of the internships we offer are going to really benefit you in any path that you want to go into in the beef industry. And if that ends up being a feed yard, that's great. But we offer, and this summer we have 6 of these people that are doing this certain kind of internship, which is our basically just feed yard crash course internship. We call it our feed yard rotating internship. So what these students will have the opportunity to do is come out and basically experience every department that makes the feed yard operate throughout the course of the summer.
Cool. Yeah.
And they can, kind of specialize it. If they experience one part of it that they feel particularly drawn to or they enjoy a lot, they can spend more time there and that kind of thing. But that's one thing that we're trying to do to widen that, make that more available for students to get some hands-on experience in the beef industry. I know that there are probably other internships, but I would just say, if you're looking at any career in the beef industry, getting yourself a little feed yard experience will really set you apart, because that's a really key, critical part to the beef production system. And having some exposure in that area that maybe not a lot of other people have exposure in will really set you apart as a candidate. So
cool. Well, a couple of questions actually rolled in as you were talking there. We've got, for example, here, Abigail is asking, and here, let me see if I can throw this up. We have Abigail Grace Walker asking, hello. Oh, hello from England. How has your degree in AgCom helped you with your career? I don't know if that's England, Texas, or actual England, but welcome either way.
She is actually my best friend, and she does live in England. So
okay.
Yes, but that's a great question. She is a fellow buff, a fellow ag communications buff grad. So that's a great question from her to put me on the spot to highlight my alma mater a little bit. I think that my degree in AgCom, some of the areas that really helped me throughout my undergrad to my career now, have been just a lot of the projects, the hands-on projects that we got to do at WT. I mean, we really had, companies come in and say, hey, can you do this campaign for us? And we got a great opportunity right then and there to do a real world, real life campaign for this company, really hone our public relations skills, our advertising skills, even our design skills and things like that. So that's one way that I think it's really benefited me, to just be able to strategically plan and think on my feet and things like that. I think WT is exceptional for that. And yeah, the faculty, of course, have just always, been there for me throughout my career, helping me every step of the way. If I ever need anything, I know I can always still turn to them. So those are some ways that I think my degree has really benefited me.
Right on. Well, speaking of thinking on your feet here, and I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, or maybe another friend trying to throw you a curveball, or family member rather. Brandon Winters is asking, why is there such a disconnect between those in ag and the consumers, and what can Cattle Empire do to help close that gap?
Oh, that's a great question. So, well, I don't know that there's necessarily one specific reason. You hear the stereotypical one, which is that consumers are approximately 3 generations removed from a farm. And so that just causes a misunderstanding in and of itself. They don't know what happens at the farm. And I mean, I found that when we bring out tour groups especially, or, if you just have someone visiting in the area and you take them out onto your farm, the impact that has and the change that has just from giving them a true immersion experience with that. It may not, I mean, as far as the true polarization goes, I don't know if it has as much of an impact, but, bringing people maybe more towards the middle than they were. One thing that Cattle Empire is doing, besides just our general social media efforts, is we've recently launched a YouTube channel. And so we've covered a couple different just things that have been going on around the feed yard are mainly what is on there right now. But we are working on developing more videos, just kind of evergreen content about things that go on at the feed yard that people might not know about, or are things that they know exist that they are concerned about or would like more information about. And we would like to be the group that's providing that information. We want to be the source. And so those are some things that we're working on to help close that gap a little bit.
Awesome. All right. So now we're both on the YouTube bandwagon here. So you have 2 YouTube channels to make sure you go check out.
Yes, subscribe.
Subscribe to Cattle Empire and AgGrad, both on YouTube, because I think that is I think it's really smart, obviously, because we're trying to do the same thing, but really it's a platform that is used extensively. I think I heard somebody say it's like the number 3 search engine in the world, right behind Google and Amazon, and then it's like YouTube. Like that's where people are looking for things is on YouTube. And so I think there isn't enough honest, authentic ag content on there, so that's really cool. Make sure those of you tuning in go check out Cattle Empire and subscribe there on YouTube. I want to hear a little bit more about a typical day, and then we do have another question from the comments there. But a typical day for you in communications, I think it's hard for people to wrap their head around, like, all right, what do you do? You go into work every day, and do you just post on social media? I know that's a no, but tell me about what's a typical day look like for you.
So this is going to sound really stereotypical, but my job really truly is different every single day. And I talked about some of the main functions of my job earlier, and those are really, kind of seasonal. Right now I'm working really hard on scholarship stuff, getting that rolled out. In the summer and in our application season, internships is going to be a huge part of what I'm doing. Obviously, things that are going on all the time are our social media. If I'm having a slower day or something like that, I might go write some blog posts, to have those for the future, or go out and shoot some stock footage or videos for a project that we might be working on. Just things like that. I'm trying to think of anything else that is something that would be a day-to-day thing. Just staying educated on what's going on in the ag industry, but also keeping up on my skills and things like that. As you, I'm sure, know, in communications and in media, we're having changes every day to the jobs we do. And so there's an element of my time that is spent learning new things, knowing what we need to be up on, and keeping up with that kind of stuff. So like I talked about earlier, the different components of my job specifically, those are going to be scattered out and about, but it really is different every single day, which is cool. Like this Friday, it's FFA week. So this Friday, we're going to be spending the day with our local FFA chapter, talking about beef and cattle and things like that. And so that's just another example.
What about responding when there's an issue, like, a new report comes out that says, cattle are causing global warming because of, methane or whatever the case may be. Do you have to kind of research and then craft messaging for those types of issues?
It really depends. So if it doesn't impact us directly, or if it's not, if it's not directly Cattle Empire, we may not go out and do a direct response to that person or to that issue. But something that we might do is be more proactive, or create something that's more of a reference point, a piece of positive messaging that could be found in searching for, whatever the bad information is. I'm trying to think of an example of any time that we have directly, very pointedly responded to something. I think that we were misquoted or misinterpreted in a media in a media story at one point, and so we did come out and do a very direct correction and really publicize that. But other than that, we might answer some questions on Twitter, or always in the comment section we'll always answer any questions that are asked of us and things like that. But we don't necessarily go looking for the attention when it comes to the contentious issues at the time when they're really heated. I don't think that really benefits anybody.
Yeah, that's probably smart communication strategy, really. Well, here we're gonna. I have one more question, but I want to end on a fun one from the audience here. So Joyce is asking, do you ever get to use your cowgirl skills at work?
Not much. No, I tend to stay out of the pen and stay hands off. But you know what is good? What part of my cattle skills are really useful in my job is understanding and knowing cattle flight zones and cattle behavior and things like that, so that I can make sure that I stay out of the way of the operations that are going on, and that I'm not causing any problems by my presence being there, whether I'm videoing or taking photos or just happen to be in the area. I'm able to know when I'm being a nuisance and get out of that situation, so that we can have optimal animal welfare and low stress cattle handling that we aspire to. So I don't do a lot of direct hands-on work, but those skills definitely do still benefit me, in knowing how to act around the cattle and knowing how they'll respond. So.
No, makes sense. And actually, we do have a couple other, I think they heard me say that we're coming to an end. And so we had a couple other comments. So hopefully you have a few more minutes here.
Oh, yeah.
One from Hannah Borg, who is the from Fast Ag News. For those of you who don't follow AgGrad on Snapchat, you should, just to watch Hannah and Fricky do their Fast Ag News every Thursday. But Hannah Borg is here asking, what's your favorite resource that you use in your role as a communicator? And then parentheses, she said that could be for content creation or educational resources, etc.
This is a great question, and something that I wanted to get to for all of you future communicators. So my greatest resource for sure is my network. And now that sounds like, oh, you network, call people, go to meetings, whatever. No, I mean, I'm a part of, I don't know, probably 10 Facebook groups that are directly associated with what I do. And so we are just like a support system for each other. And each one of those groups, is maybe just slightly different, just slightly different specialty that kind of joins the group members. But, we'll share information, tips, new updates, discuss topics, help each other out, get, things like that. I mean, I turn to those every single day. I check my groups. I see what's going on. It's where I learn about a lot of new media. It's where I learn about changes in algorithms to Facebook and Instagram. It's where I learn about some of the hot topics that are, facing agriculture in the world today and things like that. And so really and truly, even if you're still in college right now, go out there and find some people who share interests with you, who want to work together, and create that network and create that environment where you guys can work together and help each other out, because it makes a huge difference. When you're in college, you have your classmates around you and your professors, and you're working together every day. But when you get out into the industry, you may not necessarily have that, especially as a communicator. A lot of times you're a single person staff or on a small team, and you're not going to have that big network. So that's definitely my greatest resource.
All right, you are right on there, and big part of what we're trying to do with AgGrad is like, hey, let's provide a forum for connecting people so that they can build that network early in their career or even before they officially launch. And you teed us up perfectly for our next question. This is so awesome with all the questions. I think this is the most questions we've had from the comments yet on the show, which is great because my job becomes then just to read questions, and I can read questions all day long. But no, a really good one, especially based on what you just said from Caressa Nordyke, who says, what platforms do you think are the best use of our time to reach consumers as well as producers? What type of content has the best interaction for Cattle Empire? Videos, photos, blogs? What do you think?
Absolutely. Great question, Caressa, fellow buff there. Right now, as far as we can tell, video is king. That's why we're doing these videos. That's why we're doing what we're doing. People want more video. Facebook, is currently really pushing live video, which here we are.
Here we are.
And YouTube, like we discussed earlier, people are searching for things on there. People want to watch videos about stuff. They don't want to read stuff. So, our main purpose for doing a blog nowadays would be more for supporting content or more information than we would want to put in a video, basically.
Like a deeper dive.
Exactly, a deeper dive. So you like this video, you like what you saw, learn more. Of course, our blog on our website, of course, goes back several years and predates, the trends and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of evergreen content, still available in blog format on our blog on our website. But as of right now, making videos, even if it's just as short as a 2-minute live on Facebook, it's just more about creating things that are really valuable to people. I think as changes come out in the algorithms and the things that the different social media platforms are promoting, there tends to be a large group, and I don't know if you want to call it the fake news or the the trending whatever, that tends to take advantage of whatever those changes are and really gets their content pushed up in that area, and then they go and change the interface again to kind of filter that content out.
Right.
But keeping up with what are people wanting to see and how do I fill that is always going to be providing valuable content that people want to see, and that's going to reach people if it's valuable, because people are going to share it, and that's going to add value to it, and that's going to promote it and make it more visible. So photos are still always good when you can't do videos. We're on Instagram. We really enjoy our Instagram following and do quite a bit on there. But Facebook videos, YouTube. We are on Twitter, and we're on LinkedIn, of course, for more business and for employment purposes. So all good stuff, but I don't think it's bad to really, kind of pick what you're best at or what you're most interested in and focus on those areas. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you want to pick 1 or 2 areas to really focus in on, 1 or 2, maybe 3 social media, to really do super well at, I think that's better than trying to do everything kind of subpar. So
cool. Well, we still have comments pouring in. So do you have time, Jayce, for a couple others?
I'm in no hurry. This is super fun.
Good. No, this is really fun for me. So I thought that was a fantastic answer, and you are bringing a ton of value on this. So, and also I'll just add, even if you have a face for podcasts like me, you can still be on video, and it's okay. You'll get over it. Hayden Harris is asking, on the other side, how do you reach out to a new and 3 generations from the farm ag workforce? I'm guessing he meant 3 generations from the farm. I think I read that incorrectly. So he's saying, how do you reach out to people who just have no context whatsoever for production agriculture?
Good question. I think one of the ways of doing this is meeting them where they are. And so I'm not going to say that I'm an expert in that area, and that's probably why I'm going to have a hard time answering this question, but I do think that there are groups out there who are doing a really great job of, being in the suburban areas, in the urban areas, doing that outreach there, having information. I think of Common Ground as being one of those really great organizations that's doing an awesome job of that. And then also just, we, even though we're so different, we're more alike than we're different still. And so finding those areas where you are alike and where you do have shared values and you do have things that you can share and bond on and communicate and then build that relationship, into other topics. It's not like you're just going to walk out and just wave your ag flag around in the air and have people
I want an ag flag.
Yeah, don't know where I came up with that.
No, but I think that's totally true, though. I think be a real person first and foremost. You don't have to always be Joe Farmer or Jim Cattleman. You just be Joe or Jim and be a real person and listen. And like you said, we are way more alike than we are different. And so whether that be like funny relational dynamics between generations, so your relationship with your spouse or with your mother or father, like that's something all of us can relate to. Or maybe you like to go home and play video games. I mean, I don't know. I think just be a real person first and foremost. All right, we also have. I'm scrolling by accident here. Let me get back to where we are. Lacey Roberts is asking, are you sending surveys to ask people what people want to see, or do you just watch the interactions with your content? I guess, to determine what content you're going to produce.
So Lacey is a PhD student, so she's asking me a research question.
That sounds way over my head, Lacey. So I'm glad Jayce's here to answer it.
We reference our analytics and things like that to help us make decisions based on what's working and what's not. But we haven't done a lot of surveys or, reach out to our followers and see what kind of, what do you want to see? But I definitely think that is something that we could and should implement in the future. So great question / suggestion.
I love those. And I would say anyone who is paying attention to this broadcast and has suggestions for either Cattle Empire or for AgGrad, leave them in the comments. This could be one form, one unscientific anecdotal form of collecting information about the type of content you'd like to see, but would love to see that. All right. Last one here. Allison Myers, who are some of your favorite voices in the industry?
Oh, no, don't do this to me.
It sounds like you have to say Allison Myers. I don't know. Was that another question / suggestion?
Oh, don't do this to me because there are too many and I'm going to leave somebody out. How about this?
I'll limit you to 3 and then, you'll have to just cap it there. Okay.
So then that, okay. Oh my gosh. I'm feeling the pressure right now. Okay. Let me think really quickly. I don't want to eat up too much.
And just so you know, because you can't see the comments, both Lacey and Allison are apologizing in the comments for putting you on the spot.
Yeah, y'all better. Seriously. But Allison, this is the worst question because there are literally so many people out there who are putting themselves out there. They're doing an incredible job just talking about what they do. I love the Peterson Farm Brothers. I've always been a fan. I think they're one of the kind of the original trailblazer ag communicator farmer groups. I love following Erin Brenneman with Brenneman Pork. And I think she just does a fantastic job in utilizing Snapchat as a new platform to really carry her message. I feel awful because I know there's so many people. You know what I'm going to do on this video after this is over? I'm going to go put a whole bunch of people that I really like in the comments because this is not fair. And I really like from a beef perspective, I think Ryan Goodman does a really good job. He works for NCBA. But he's a runner and he does a lot of, really diverse content and things like that. So those are a few that I really, really like. But I'm going to go in the comments and I'm going to tag a whole bunch of people for you to go follow that are also super great, because that was not a fair question. So.
All right. And Cassidy Smith is saying she's clearly in the top 3 as well.
Cassidy is great. She works for Oklahoma Grocers, so she kind of has a slightly different angle in the ag com sector, not necessarily working from the farmer side, but one step up the supply chain. So yeah, she's great. She does a good job.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, the questions are still rolling in. So I hope you can spend some time in the comments a little later in adding comments to that, because I actually have to make it 15 minutes to pick up my daughter from daycare, and they close in 10 minutes. So I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do that, but I better get going and close this out. Thank you all for who joined live. Really love the questions. I hope you can come back week after week and spur the same dialogue you have here. How can they get in touch with you, Jayce, beyond the comments afterwards to continue this conversation?
Yes. So I mentioned all of our different social media platforms earlier. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Our website is www.cattle-empire.net. You can reach me at jwinters@cattle-empire.net. And tomorrow we will be on the AgGrad Snapchat. So make sure that you tune in. It's going to be so cold. It's going to be so cold. So it's going to be really good for you to watch it from Snapchat tomorrow. So tune in, and you can ask some more questions there. I'll be on the Snapchat all day taking those. So.
Very cool. Jayce, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Really, it's been tremendous value for everyone who's tuning in. And I know this is going to a conversation that's going to continue on. And Brandon, sorry we didn't get to your question, but it's a really good one. So I look forward to joining everybody in the comments after this. And we will see you on YouTube. You're going to subscribe to Cattle Empire and AgGrad on YouTube, and check out our podcast, AgGrad Live Podcast. Thank you, everybody. And thank you especially, Jayce, for being on the show.
Thanks,
Visit
goodbye.
aggrad.com. That's AGGRAD. To join the community, create your profile, and learn more about careers in the agriculture industry.